Hey guys, hey. So I got a really interesting question and I thought I would kind of come on here for a few minutes and just kind of talk about it. Um, a lady messaged me and asked me, Nirvana, your relationship with Matthew is so important. Like, we all see it on Facebook, we all see it on YouTube, how much you guys love each other. How do you know that Matthew was the one? How do you know you're with the right partner? That's a really interesting that's a really interesting question for me because I was in an 8-year relationship before Matthew, and talking to me now that I've been with Matthew and the person I was before, and I mean the person I was with before, and also the person I was before, and my needs and my goals and my dreams and are completely different than they were when I was in my past relationship, and the way I'm treated is completely different than it was in my past relationship. It's really easy to fall in love. That's the easy part. The easy part of being with somebody is the puppy love stage of being with somebody, and that can last a really long time. The issue that I have is that once the puppy love is over, once the honeymoon stage is over, once you have been with this person for a really long time and you start realizing their quirks and their needs, and you start realizing things that bug you on a general daily basis. There are days where I'd like to just, you know what I was saying? Like, there are just some days where I'm like, and he sees the face and he knows, just leave me alone. But we can be like that with each other. There are days when he is completely annoyed with me because sometimes, girl, I'm a bitch. Like, I won't even lie. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Some days I'm just like, and he knows it. And that is his prerogative, but he never stops loving me for me. I never stop loving him, even when we're angry, even when I'm shouting at the top of my lungs because I don't feel like I'm being heard. I'm frustrated and I'm angry, or even when he's mad. There's never a point in my relationship with him where I wonder, does that person love me? Is that person going to leave me? Is that person going to hurt me? Like, that is one of the most important things I have ever had in my entire life, is the thought that he will never walk out that door on me. And he knows from the very bottom of his heart that I am never going to walk out that door on him. I don't care what happened. A lot of people are like, well, if he cheated on me, or if he did this, if he ever hit me, there are multiple things that somebody can do in your relationship that you might feel is a reason to leave. And I'm not sitting here telling you that if he just started whooping on me, like, I wouldn't be like, bye, Felicia. I'm saying, like, be reasonable here. Obviously, if he became crazy and started hurting me, but that's not Matthew. That's not my husband. We found each other when both of us were very naive. We were both in love with each other, but we didn't really know what love was. Do you understand? We didn't really understand what loving somebody was because he was very young. I'm 13 years older than he is. Yeah. Yes, I am. So I am much older than him, and I had been in a terrible, abusive, horrible relationship. So when we got together, the entire relationship revolved around me being terrified that he was going to leave me because, number one, I was massively overweight. And number two, the entire time I was like, why would he want to be with me? What does this person want from me? What's wrong with him? Like, is he gay? Because all those negative, hurtful things in my heart, I felt like, oh God, this person could never love me because I couldn't love me. That is another huge part of this journey, is learning how to love you first, and then you are freed to love other people. Because if you can't love yourself, how could you possibly understand how to love somebody else? Because you need to love yourself 100% first. every day. You wake up loving yourself. You go to bed loving yourself. That's the way it should be. It's all nice to be like, oh, I'm so selfless and I love my children and I love my husband. That's wonderful. I love my dogs to death. And if I had a baby, girl, I'd love the hell out of that too. But I still got to love myself. I still got to respect and love myself before I can love anybody else. Because if you don't love you, how can somebody else love you? How can somebody else expect you to love them if you don't know how to love yourself? That is a big issue. That is a big thing that I have dealt with through many hours of therapy, through many years of being with Matthew, is him trying to slowly incorporate, I'm worthy. I'm worthy of love and care and joy and happiness. I'm worthy. And like, when this question came across my screen, I was like, how do you know you're with the right partner? How do you know that you're meant to be? I can't tell you how adorable he was when we first got together. Like, I can't tell you that. But I was so filled with anger. I was so filled with self-loathing. I was so filled with rage that I couldn't see past my own pain to understand what I was doing to him. So when you ask me in all seriousness, like, how do you know you're with the right person? Because that person, if it's really meant to be, if they really love you, will see past all of that. Like, they will see past all of that because they see what's inside you. They see what's in here. It doesn't matter all this. I looked like I was in my 50s. Like, my skin looked terrible. I felt terrible. He met me when I was smoking. He met me when, I was having terrible, heart problems, and like, I just felt bad all the time and I couldn't walk. The man met me when I was in a wheelchair. The man met me when I was almost 500 pounds. This is the kind of love I'm talking about. This isn't just like, oh, I let myself go. Girl, I had let myself go like years ago. I let myself go, like a decade before he ever met me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't just like, oh, well, he met you when you were skinny. I've never been skinny, so I don't even know what the hell that's like. And he sees my daily struggle. He understands my daily struggle, but it's not all just about me. It's about him. There are so many things that I have learned that I have to be there for him. And it can't always be about Nirvana, I, me, want, mine. If you're going to be in a relationship with somebody, you have to be willing to put your needs and your wants aside to make sure that you compromise and incorporate what somebody else wants. Because who wants to be in a one-sided relationship? It was really hard for me because, I was so jaded and I was so angry and I was so hurt from the other people that I'd been with in my life. I couldn't see how good he was trying to treat me. We fought constantly for years. We fought all the time, like all the time. And it was crazy because this man still stood with me. I still stood with him. There were many times where I was like, I'm not going to put up with this. I'm just going to leave. I don't want to be with you anymore. Like, I can't stand to even look at you. And that was all my fault. That had nothing to do with him. That was all the rage and pain and disgust and self-loathing and depression and anxiety that I felt in my own heart. I couldn't let go what had happened to me in the past. I could not allow somebody to get close to me. I couldn't fall for him 100%. I couldn't allow him because, number one, I thought I was dying. You don't understand. I thought I would not be here another 2 or 3 years. I thought I was going to die on this person. He was going to be burying me. I didn't want somebody around me. I didn't want somebody to love me when I knew that I only had limited time. So it was very hard for me to let him in. It was very hard for me to care about his needs. It was very hard for me to be a good person 100% because I was all like, oh, I don't have much time. So it needs to be all about Nirvana. You asked me again, how did I know he was the one? Because he saw past all of that. He saw me for me. He loved me for me. He knew that I was hurting. He knew that this was frustration. He knew that God had another plan for me. He went into the military for me and to serve his country. He did that to save my life. How many people do you know would do that for somebody else? He didn't have to do that. He chose to do that. I didn't ask him for that. I never even thought about it. Matter of fact, the first thing when he came and told me that he signed up for the military, I screamed and wailed and cried for weeks, thinking that, you know, this was the end, that he was going to leave me, that, you know, it was still me being very insecure in myself and very in pain and in, you know, just not happy with who I was. And it wasn't until I had gastric bypass, and it wasn't until I got into therapy, and it wasn't until I started taking medication and opening myself up. You know, this has been through since 2012. So, you know, I've had 4 years to really learn who I am, and I'm still getting there. But again, you ask me, how did I know he was the one? Because he never gave up on me, and I never gave up on him. Even when he was frustrated with me, even when he was mad, even when, you know, we were slamming doors and, like, you know, throwing stuff, because, you know, girl, sometimes I get nuts, and I'll chuck something, like not at him, but I will toss something across the room. You know, going through brain painting has made me a completely different person. I deal with things completely differently than I did 6 months ago. Talking to my therapist and, like, going back 6 months where I couldn't even walk to the, you know, to the driveway. I couldn't get into a car. I couldn't. My life has changed dramatically in the past. I'm going to take all of 2015. Like, I have tried and true. Matthew was, the 22nd of this month will be his 3 years in the military. And in 3 years, I have been a different person like 25 times. And I'm still not done. And I'm still not done losing weight. But the difference is when I go to bed at night, the last thing I think about is how much I am loved, because he kisses me and he holds me and he tells me every day, all day long, I love you. And I say it right back to him, and I mean it with every fiber of my being. I love you. I love you. I love you when you're mad. I love you when you're sad. I love you when you hurt. I love you when you have surgeries. And he's the same way for me. This man has been through 4 surgeries with me. He's had to say goodbye to me and kiss me and pray to God that nothing happened to me 4 separate times. And there's been 2 or 3 times where we weren't quite sure I was going to make it. Like, that's how I know that he is the one. That is how I know for the very last breath, no matter what happens in my relationship, I will try to fix it. For the very last breath on this earth that I have, it will be to be with him. It will be with him and for him, because that's how much I love him. All right, guys, I have rambled for 13 minutes. I hope this helps and answers the question, and I love your faces very much. Mwah. Bye.